Keep in touch with the Wolf Connection podcast on our Instagram handle at the Wolf Connection Pod, or email us your questions, comments, and guest ideas to podcast@wolfconnection.org. Thank you for your support, and howls to you all. Welcome to the Wolf Connection podcast. I'm your host, John Kaufman. So I'm running solo on this specific podcast. Steven is not with us, but he'll be on the back end helping edit this together. So it's morning for me, but we're in the evening in Poland. So we're very excited to do more international podcasts and speaking with individuals who are over in Europe, knowing that wolves are coming back, or they are back, and the things that are going on between wolves and people in these different scenarios. So the guest today, she is an author. She wrote Instynkt about wolves in Polish forests. She's coming to us from Maziuk National Park. It's in the south of Poland. I think I got that right. And she is Anna Maziuk. So Anna, it's so nice to meet you. I'm glad that this all worked out, that we could talk and get to know you. So how's everything going?
So hi, John. I'm very glad and happy to be a guest in your podcast. It's going great. You know, we have the beginning, I would say, because here in the mountains, it's coming a bit later, the spring. So everything is very green and beautiful. And, you know, we have those wolf pups coming just now. This pack of wolves that I'm, let's say, tracking, and I live in in the area of this pack. They actually already have the pups, so I'm very excited, and yeah, we'll see. So that's more or less the spring here.
That's incredible, and it's so wonderful that you're in this forest, and it's really the forest seems to be the tie for everything about you. Is that you wrote that about in your book? You grew up in in Poland's forest. Just give everybody a background about what that's like for you as a child and as a younger individual growing up in these forests, and now being inside the national forest and tracking these wolves now.
Sure, I will try. So actually, I come from the north of Poland, not from the south that I am living actually right now. But and I come from the lakes and forest region, more flat, but still not a total meadow. But so also a lot of nature and a lot of wolves there too. I think we're gonna go at some point to the Polish wolves history, so I'm not gonna evolve too much about this right now. But those two parts actually were the parts, so the mountains and also the Warmian Mazury region, so this lakes region, were two parts where wolves were present almost throughout the whole history. You know, like in different parts of Poland, they were distinct, they were exterminated. But not in those two parts. So in a way, I could say I was always connected to them. But growing up in a place like that, surrounded by forest, even though I grew up in a small town, not in the village, me, my parents, and my brother, we were going to the forests a lot, just picking mushrooms, berries, and just walking around. Sometimes getting lost and finding each other. I mean, ourselves in that forest. So it somehow shaped me, like after some time when I went to study in Warsaw. I studied journalism there in the capital of Poland. I was always coming back to visit my parents, and the first thing or the second thing after seeing my dog and then my parents, I was going to the forest to have a walk, and just to be on my own in the forest. So I think it was just the basic foundation of who I became. And living in the city for like 10 years in a big city, I mean, the capital, it was very, well, interesting too, but I always missed the nature, I miss not having people all over, all around, like those noises, artificial noises, I mean, because the noises in the forest, it's totally different. They're natural, this is like, you don't even, I mean, I hear them, I recognize the particular voices, of course, and sounds, but they're not disturbing, they are not tiring like the voices of the city. So yeah, I was always missing the nature part. So after some time I came back to this north of Poland part, but then different things in life happened, and I'm here in the south, which is even better because here we have all the big carnivores, so like not only wolves but bears, lynx, and even the wildcats. So this is like we have this complete predator, I don't know how to say that, yeah, but so more or less, I guess, that answered the question.
Yeah, no, and it's, we've talked with other people who find calmness or stillness in the forest, and to hear it from you, especially because we're used to talking with individuals from North America, in the United States or Canada. So to hear those places exist in Europe, it's a refreshing thing I think for people to hear who are going to listen to this and understand that there are other places to go, that you can find these, like you said, these ambient noises, these beautiful natural noises, and these incredible forests. Because I looked at some of the pictures that you have on your Instagram, and some other photos where you're in articles, and the greenery it's so green. It reminds me of the Pacific Northwest here in the United States, where it's so rich, it's so vibrant. And you just said you have all these predators. What's that like for you, just to be aware that there are all these incredible animals around you when you go walking in these forests?
Yeah, it makes me so happy. That's the first thing. Yeah, but honestly, it's I feel both honored in a way, like that I still have a chance to meet sometimes, but even to see some tracks or some other evidence, let's say, of left by those animals, that just this is enough to know that they're in the forest, that they're there somewhere in the mountains. I don't have to actually encounter the animal to be happy, because I know that after studying this for a long time and just being in the nature, I know for animals it's not that great to meet us, to have a personal uh, encounter.
Confrontation,
Yeah,
yeah.
direct, right? It's probably quite scary and very stressful for them. So sometimes I'm even more happy just to see them from afar, just to see that they were there before me some time before. So yeah, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and I do everything I can to keep that state of being, let's say, I mean, to keep that to help keep the protection of those animals, because wolves are fully protected in Poland, bears are fully protected in Poland, lynx and wildcat too. So fortunately, but especially with wolves, the situation is very difficult, and especially hunters, this group is trying all the time to revoke the law, right, to get it back to hunt the wolves. But yeah, I think we're gonna talk about it some more later too. But but for now, since we have the protection, also the European Union helps to keep this law, the full protection, because we have this it's called derogative, I think, that just every single European, European Union country has to oblige, let's say, those rules, right? And the wolves are, like, by this law, should be protected, or at least in some way. So this helps a lot. But yeah, it's still not easy. And we are lucky. For example, bears. This is the only region here in the Tatra Mountains, so nearby, and Bieszczady Mountains. Anyway, the south of Poland, this is the only place in Poland where we have bears left, right? In other parts, there are no bears. Like in the lowlands, there are no bears because those forests are too fragmented. Even Białowieża forest, I don't know if you heard about it. You said before that we have beautiful forests in Poland, so it's worth to mentioning Białowieża forest. So the ancient actually forest, the only real ancient forest in Europe, that is being cut down in pieces, at least right now, because of the because of different things, but also because of the forestry, like trying to push it over. And also we have this refugee crisis, which is only for politics. They just use it as an excuse to go into that forest and do some damage. But with the oldest forest in Europe, which is so crazy. But I absolutely I would say go there. And this forest is on the border with Belarus. So the rest of the Białowieża National Park is actually going through the Belarus. And there in Belarus, from Belarus, bears were starting to come to Poland, but then they built this fence, for the refugees not to come, not to cross. So you know what they did with the fence, right? They stopped all the migrations of the animals. So what I'm saying is, it's very particular to have some of the like wild cats. It's only here in the south of Poland that we have those wild cats. So it's really rare, and yeah, I do whatever I can to help to protect them. Yeah.
It's interesting that we draw these parallels, and there's so much in our face about, like you said, the refugee, whether you want to call it a crisis or just refugees in general, of where they need to go to find a better life. And also the bears trying to migrate and find a better life too, and how we really draw parallels to human and animal migrations and what we're doing to fragment those things. And whether we do it consciously or unconsciously, it's not only something that happens here in North America, let's say, it's happening across the globe in different ways. And it's saddening to hear that, and it's not something that's up on the top of people's minds. I think they don't really understand that. You did mention about the protections for all these animals, the bear, the lynx, the wolf, and things like that. When your wolf journey began, what really got you into this? Because we'll sort of dive into the wolf history there in Poland, but you have this beautiful relationship with nature and the forestry there. So what was it about wolves that brought you into this foray that you're now almost, I think, a decade in of studying them and tracking them and doing what you do?
It was kind of, I would say, an accident, but I'm sure it wasn't an accident. Yeah. Something from inside, this inside voice would always call, like, okay, do something around nature, and I was writing, I was a journalist, and I was writing articles about animals, about animal studies, I would say, stuff, or those animals that were, let's say, rescued from some fair farms or whatever, those foxes, or for fair, fair, is it the correct word in English? I think
fur farms.
This
Yep.
coats made from animal.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, they basically would catch them and then skin them and
exactly. So I was always interested in trying to somehow be involved and like tell the public these terrible stories. But yeah, at some point in 2014, that was this accident, I would say. I saw a lady reading a book called Feeding the Wolves. And it was, as I say, right now I say it's the worst possible title for a book a book about wolves, right? Like, come on, you really shouldn't. It's absolutely no good to feed the wolves. But then I didn't even think about it. I just saw the layer, and I thought, interesting. Yeah. So I just went to the library, took that book from the library, and it was a very bad book, but it had this note at the end. It was a novel, a love novel, something with wolves that were really unrealistic and everything. Funny thing is, it was a story of my friend, current friend, but back then I didn't know her. So
Oh,
the
wow.
writer just listened to that story and in a way just told it in her own way. But then at the end, she said something about this scientist, and it wasn't the one I actually contacted in the end, but I did my research and I saw, okay, the biggest, like the most famous wolf researcher in Poland is a Sabina Nowak, Pieruszek Nowak. She's very like world famous in the field. If somebody is really into the wolves, then probably in Europe she or he would know or heard Sabina's name. A lot of publications, and also okay, I have to meet her. I have to go there. I have to write, because I was also writing a lot of articles about women, like trying to give especially girls that I also try to empower girls, young girls, so like give them those role models, great examples of who you can be if you only want to be. So because in a way maybe I lack that, those women, female role models. So I went there to meet Sabina, and she did this beautiful with her with this other scientists and some other people that were tracking wolves in the south, in some other mountains in Poland. And I went there with a group of British students of ecology or something, and we were tracking wolves for 1 week, and it was just amazing. I mean, I heard howling for the first time, like so beautiful. So like I fall in love with wolves. That was the first thing. Second thing, I like understood at that point that wolves are those animals that are so misunderstood, that are so misrepresented, that are so, I mean, there is so much poaching and everything still, even though they are protected. And I thought, okay, I have to do something about it. I want to do something about it. I want to be a voice for those animals in a way. Like they can speak like the language we can understand, but I can do it. So I want to tell the public about them. But then in 2014, I still didn't know how to do it. I mean, there were some books in Polish and some English books, like, I mean, translated into Polish, but from there, a literature from about books is about wolf stories quite huge. So I didn't want to write just another book about wolves, right? So I wrote some articles, I did some education, and I was really, this was basically the point where I understood that I can um, connect and do those both of those things, like write about nature and tell people, explain to them the nature processes and this, yeah, basically the whole ecosystem correlations. And right, yeah, so I can combine those two things, writing and being into nature, because for me to write about something, I need to go and experience this. I actually need to experience, otherwise I just don't, I'm not able to write well this this part, this thing, this, explain this to others. I really need to experience it myself. So yeah, that was basically the story, how it started.
Yeah. For you, and it makes sense because you want, anytime you write something, I would imagine that you want the reader or whoever is going to pick this up or see it, that they understand, they get fully engrossed in whatever they're seeing. And, like you say, you've lived it for a while, and that comes through in the writing. That always comes through is when people they find that it's genuine. It's not just a sort of like an educational or a book, something that people, oh, I read this in other books, so I'm going to translate this in my own words. It's you having a living, breathing experience within these forests, talking about these wolves, understanding the plight of what's happening. And that comes across obviously as something that's more engaging and more human and more that people are able to correlate with. And you said that about, we were just discussing before we got on about your book, and you sent me the one chapter you had. And I think what's interesting, and explain this too, is you wrote in the way that was from the perspective of the wolf. So what was that like to, in the chapter that you sent me? What is that like, or what are you trying to convey to people? Because as you start this journey, what are you looking for people to get out of that, to understand when you're looking at the wolf and the physical characteristics and what they're seeing through their eyes? What are you trying to emote or get from the reader in this situation?
Yeah. So before I get to that, I will just say that it was first of all, it was important for me to find this angle, as you said, personal, let's say, the point of view, this perspective that I want to show people. And as long as I didn't have it, I didn't write the book. I just wrote these articles, different articles on the, yeah. But once
Right.
at some point I just discovered, okay, this is the idea, this is what I want to do. This is what nobody else has done in Poland, at least in the Polish context. And yeah, it was the combination of the different things. But one of them was, in general, it was about showing perspectives, different perspectives. So a wolf perspective is one of them, but there is also a hunter or hunter's perspective, photographers and filmmakers perspective, farmers, biologists and researchers. Who else is there? Like regular people who just live, nearby in the nearby forest or whatever, in the villages. Yeah, more or less, probably. I'm not sure if I counted all the groups. Yeah, foresters.
I think you got most of them. Yeah.
Foresters also, yeah, because some of them are hunters, but also they are like a different group too. Not all of them are against wolves. It's more complex. So my idea was to show all of those perspectives, so people, I mean the readers, could get an idea to understand, to make them to help them understand why wolves are so loved and hated at the same time. I mean, as many people hate wolves as love them, as some the other part is the ones that love them. And I think it's one of the animals that actually makes us feel so like contrary emotions at the same time. And it was very interesting. So coming back to the wolf perspective, it was risky for me, and I wasn't sure if it was the right way to do it. I didn't know anybody in Poland who would do it in such way, because it's a reportage, so it's like this kind of book, quite serious. It's based on facts. So how do you tell a story from a wolf, like with going with wolf eyes or whatever? So I really try to base it on facts. So for example, in this first chapter, you have a story of a Freya. That's the name of the she wolf. And she was a young, like almost 3 years old, female wolf, raised and born in Bieszczady Mountains. And she traveled like, I don't remember exactly right now, but quite a lot, 400 or 500 kilometers to some. It's for a wolves can travel 2,000 or more, but it was quite far, and it was very difficult, this migration, because she had to cross a lot of borders, like busy roads and different things. So it was quite an adventure, and she was a small wolf, and I know her story because she had a radio collar. And I met the scientist who put the radio collar on her neck, and he's a great guy, like looking at the nature, like this whole ecosystem, and I really like his perspective, because he's not only about doing the research, but really about a welfare of those animals. So I love this kind of perspective from biologists. It's not obvious. Sometimes it's just about doing the research. uh,
Right.
so Freya, she was a perfect example. Like for me, she was, this very adventurous young wolf who would go and look for her own home, wander in the world, not knowing what's gonna happen and what she's going to find there. And I had a lot of data, so I could actually say, when I'm saying, okay, she left this forest looking like that, and then it was freezing, minus, let's say, 10, and then it was snowing. So I actually had this information, so it was kind of like she could have seen this or that, but yeah, she was crossing those places, so I actually could write about those places, trying to imagine that maybe she noticed something, or that she hunted this or that animal. So it was, in a way, a wolf perspective. I tried to give people the idea how this wolf life looks like, without just saying wolves are these animals who hunt deers, blah blah blah, because this is just boring. People wouldn't care, I guess.
They wouldn't
Yeah,
engage in
yeah.
it.
And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way, people tell me, okay, this is lovely, and then they're heartbroken because Freya dies at the end. I mean, not at the end of my book, but she makes it to this place where she would probably start a family, because there was another nearby, there was another pack, but she found some area without any wolves, but there would come in time, because she spent there like few months. But she was poached. She was poached. She was killed by a hunter from Slovakia, probably, where at the time they could have hunted, they could have shot wolves. But she was shot on the Polish side, so it was illegal. But it's very complicated, and nobody was evicted for that. And nobody was went to jail or even paid for that. So yeah, so this is the story that breaks people's hearts, but I think it's the only way to make them understand. It's to make them feel and care about. Yeah, that was my idea, to make them care about those animals.
Yeah. It's necessary. I think it's very necessary. I've read a lot of wolf books, and the journeys that or the journey you described just now with Freya is, it happens, I think, more often than people want to learn, or people know about it, is that these wolves traverse very long distances, and a lot of times it ends up maybe not with a human caused mortality, but the wolves will die, whether it's interpack dynamics or pack on pack or wolf on wolf. So I think it's necessary for individuals and groups, whoever are reading these stories, to understand that animals are not superhuman. We just spoke with another author, I think earlier this week. And then people sometimes believe, and this got back to what we were talking about with anthropomorphism. I can get that word eventually. That we get attached to whatever animal it may be. It doesn't necessarily have to be a wolf, and we believe that these animals, maybe in the back of our minds, we know they will live forever, but we have this connection, this deep rooted belief that we're going to see this animal for a long time, and sometimes when they transition or pass, however it may be, it's devastating and it hurts. But it's a beautiful way to share a story and a journey that way, to understand that life continues to move on once these animals transition. So Anna, please talk about the book in and of itself. And you've described to me that you've had some wild wolf encounters. You've been out with them. Just tell everybody really about the book and how those wild wolf encounters have impacted not only you, but learning about the ecosystem, learning about how they are doing in Poland and really how they've impacted the book and your story in and of itself.
Yeah. So you actually put it quite well, because yeah, this my journey with this book, I would say, discovering, understanding the wolves, the worth of the wolves in a way, and how they live, and it was a journey of my own too. So I needed to took it in order to get closer to them in a way, obviously in a way, because you shouldn't get too close to a wild wolf. It's not safe for the wolf, I would say. but yeah. So in a book, as we spoke, I talked to different people, different groups, but also there were my I wrote about my own experiences with in the forest, basically, So I think in a book I wrote only about 3 encounters with wild wolves, and I had some more, like maybe 2 or 3 more after. But as someone who, it's not that easy to meet a wolf in a wild forest, unless, even if you know where they live, where they, like, the center of the territory they live in. Still, it's not obvious you're gonna meet them. So I always like, wow, it's always great. But I remember, and I think, like, the first encounter I had was the most important one, in a sense that it switched everything, like changed everything, like my way of seeing, like my views on how to encounter, how to approach wild nature. Like, so I put it in the end of my book. And it was, as I said, the first encounter with wolves a few years back in the mountains, different ones that I live in right. But I was there with my ex-partner right now, but like we were just walking, there, like let's say tourists. But I know those places from my research, for the book already. So, like, I went there and I had this feeling that we can meet some wolves here. Like, even though it was the middle of the day, well, not the middle of the day, it was already around 5 o'clock. So, okay, but very sunny. It was May. And so, little pups just came, well, they just came into life, I would say, were born. And and mother were probably with them in a den. And we were there in this walking through this meadow. And at some point we stopped and just, enjoyed the view, blah, blah, blah. And then I looked, I'm like, hey, there's a wolf coming from the forest just on the other side of the meadow. Like, it was very far. It was like, I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but 500 meters, really far away. But we had this, camera with long lenses. So, okay, we looked through the lenses. We didn't have the binocular, how do you call it? This,
The binoculars, yeah.
So not at this moment. So we looked through this camera. Okay, I see one young wolf just coming from the forest and then lying in the grass and just rolling on his back or her back. I'm not sure, and just like there lying in the sun. It looks like, okay, he's just lazy and enjoying the sun or whatever. And then okay, so ex-boyfriend of mine, he says, okay, go approach him a little bit, see better, because the camera was going to get the battery was going down, so we would lose the close view. And I said, no, but then okay, I'm gonna go very slowly. But then he went after me, so we were walking in a line. We were far, but still we wanted to get closer. And then we also another wolf. So there were in the end two young wolves just, having fun there on this meadow. Anyway, we approached them, I think maybe it was around 100 meters. And at this point, they saw us. Before that, the wind was, the opposite side, and everything was like we were good to go. We were walking slowly and all. And then they saw us and get, very like, well, disturbed. They didn't know what we were still. They couldn't smell us, sniff us, and then, well, not sniff us, but smell us. So they start to move, then they slowly get back to the forest, to the line of the forest, and then disappeared in the forest. One of them did like a round and get closer to us from one side and just checked what we were, to make sure if we were people. Anyway, it's a long story, but I tell it so. For me, it was kind of to be honest, that I approached them, that I scared them, that that my curiosity to see them from up close was bigger than some kind of respect of their, life and being there peacefully, calmly, and I disturbed them. I could have just stayed where I was and just leave it be happy that they're there, that I saw them. Okay, it's not something huge, it's not a huge disturbance, but still at this moment I wouldn't repeat this behavior. I would just watch from far. And yeah. So the next few encounters were just much shorter, just in the forest, walking somewhere and then seeing the wolves and just stop and just look through those extra eyes lenses, and be happy that those wolves are there for a few seconds at least. And two of them were actually during the mating season, so in around February, which is around Valentine's, which is also funny. but yeah, then the wolves were quite with a head wherever in the clouds, and I think it's much easier to see them, to meet them at this time. But yeah, this is like the lesson I got, in a way, that you don't have to get closer, you don't have to experience more. I mean, you want to, obviously, yeah, this is something that yeah, everybody wants to experience, who in a way wanted to meet wolves, obviously. But I think it's worth it not like to stop yourself, to say, okay, but am I, like, do I really have to approach? Do I really have to cross this invisible line, to scare those animals? So yeah, so this is a lesson I also got, and from the wolves, and in a way, and I told it in a book. So yeah, it's not a story of glory, but I guess it's a good one, the one that changed me a lot. I had also a few encounters with the wolves, that lived in captivity, and I wrote about those too. This is another story, completely different story, but those were also lessons. Like, for example, when I saw this wolf, also from afar, because she was taken by people from a den when she was little. Then she was let go to the forest because she was probably too problematic for people. And then she would come to villages and, beg for food, and it would be, again, problematic. So hunters wanted to kill all the wolves. This story, was going on. And so she was taken away from the wild and put in this, like, enclosure, but only for some time. They didn't know what to do with her. There was no good place to put her. Anyway, she was quite wild still. She wasn't afraid that much of people to that she would approach the village, but on the other hand, she was still wild. So when I looked at her, I was looking to see her even in this enclosure, and I saw her by her ears. Her ears were just like, I could see them from some bushes. Like it was so amazing, because somebody told me before, okay, sometimes you just look around, you have this feeling that a wolf is watching, but you can't see he or she, this wolf. I'm using he she on purpose, because I think it is just, yeah.
You never know, right?
So this person said, and then you see only the ears, only the ears that are visible from somewhere, some bushes or whatever. And it was also a lesson. And yeah, so I wrote about all of those stories, because like those wild wolves, the wolves that were taken by people, and then there were also wolves that were, for example, that people took and bred with their dogs, and or somehow there were hybrids taken from the nature, and some people raised them because they got some agreement from the government to do so. So like all of those stories tell the bigger story of our coexistence with wolves. And yeah, each of these stories would tell me something else about this relationship and wolves themselves. Yeah,
It's a complicated relationship,
very
isn't it?
complicated, as you can hear. Yeah, and the thing is, I I am still learning. It's not like I have all the answers, and okay, I wrote the book and now I know how to solve the problems, on the line of human wolf line. Like it's so complex, but yeah, I guess it's worth just asking those questions, and yeah, trying to observe and learn, yeah, those lessons. And I think we can learn a lot from the wolves. And yeah.
Did you? Yeah, I mean, for those experiences that you had in multiple different settings, were the lessons the same, or were they all a variation of the same lesson, or different completely for you?
No, completely different, I would say. I mean, okay, the main thing that would like make it all one was that, yeah, the step back of humans, of us, us making more space for the wild nature would be the general, I would say, lesson. Like, okay, you have this impulse to help. You see a small wolf, okay, maybe it's lost, or I need to help, I need to take it from the nature. No, take a step back, leave the wolf. Seriously, it's even better if you don't call anyone than if you just do something stupid on probably people just do those things because they have not enough knowledge how to behave. But yeah, most of the times for the nature, it's better when we just do nothing. Sometimes it's brutal. It seems brutal, but if you know the how it works inside that ecosystem, yeah, that's only the half of the pups that are born each year are able to survive, right? Like the first year and all this, then you understand it's also complex, and it's not only on you. And if you put your finger into all that, you can do a lot of mess, and yeah, a lot of problems, for more problems than good, actually. So that would be the biggest lesson. And like the little ones were, yeah, different things. And obviously white wolves, those domesticated wolves, those wolves in the in the captivity, small different messages, but in the end, I think all of it gets to that bigger message, issue.
I want to ask you too, because you cover all different perspectives, and you named all the different individuals that you interviewed. What was that like for you because you have a journalist background, and now when you're writing this book, what's the prevailing thought for people that are not, I'll just say, on the opposite side of loving wolves? There are people, like you said, that are fans of wolves, and there are others that dislike them for whatever the reason may be. What are the main reasons you found for those that were against wolves in some way or another?
It's again quite complex. There are few different reasons, but often they go in packs, I would say. So first of all, I think it's a competition, with wolves. And it's a battle of power, or for, who has more power over the forests, over the deers in the forests, over the, whatever, more power in general. So when wolves are not, when they are protected, they are not shot by hunters. They are not the ones who decide how many animals, let's say deers or wild boars or whatever, are left in the forest. It's also up to wolves. Can you imagine? But yeah, seriously, I know this is the kind of the way of thinking that they have, because they told me, a lot of them were speaking quite openly with me, because I came to them as a stranger, so they didn't know my perspective, and I didn't say, okay, I'm, this ecologist who just this, how they call us here in Poland, green. They say, yeah, you're green. I wouldn't give them my perspective. So I would argue with them sometimes, but only after they told me their truths, because I really wanted to understand, what they have in mind when they kill an animal, and why do they, as I said, in a way, they battle, they fight with wolves. So yeah, this power dynamics is the first thing. The second is money. But for now, I'm talking about hunters, right? Money, with farmers, it would be money too. But with hunters, it's the more wolves kill, like, different herbivores, like deers and others, the less hunters can kill, because they need to take those away from their the numbers that they are allowed to shut every year, or I think it's every year they establish how many they can shoot. So if wolves kill, let's say, I don't know, 300 deers, then they have to take that off their list. So it's so much less money. I mean, so it's terrible for them. Okay, one huge deer is like, I don't know, a lot of money. So it's again economy. Also, some of the hunters say, we could give that meat, it's wasted. This meat is wasted. We could give it to the kids in the schools, and that way it's wasted on wolves. Come on. Yeah, seriously, this is this funny, I don't know, this is really that far away from my thinking that that's even funny for me. But and then there are scary things like what else, well, some people fear wolves, obviously, and the interesting thing is that hunters, in a way, I think they fear predators. Think about it like that. I not I'm not very big, rather skinny, not very tall, and I go to the forest not armed, alone in the night, during the night, and I don't fear animals, right? Okay, when I know that there are bears in the forest, I'm more cautious, because I know it's, I need to be. I know my way around, but I don't fear that something will happen. I don't, I'm not scared. And hunters, they always have to have a gun with them. They don't go, so many of them told me, without my dog and my gun, I'm so afraid that those wolves will, come and do me, like they harm me, they whatever, they're gonna, attack. This is so crazy, because wolves, unless they were taken as little cubs from the den, and raised by a human, or they were fed, they wouldn't attack you. Wild wolves, they don't attack people. It's really like something very terrible must have happened, that if a wolf attacked a person. But normally they, even in United States, that you have like some accidents, but still those are like almost non-existent. So it's so funny, they actually fear the nature, and because of that fear, they have to protect. I see, I show the quotes, right? It's
Quotations, yeah.
yeah. So
It's interesting that power dynamic, it doesn't surprise me, I guess, because we see that here in North America, and I'm sure you've read how the North American wolf coexistence push, or the legislation, some of the stuff that comes down, and a lot of those same thought processes are here in the United States, about, especially in the West, where there's a battle over prey species, whether it's caribou, moose, elk, deer, and the amount that's needed for hunters, they feel, to either sustainable hunting, where people actually shooting the meat that they're going to consume throughout the year, or whatever it may be, and then others that just shoot or poach, depending upon who it is, to take that elk or take that moose, whatever it may be, for sporting purposes and things like that. So it's interesting that dynamic is prevalent, and that it's global. It's not just something that we see here in North America. Just give everybody a little bit about the history, because you were talking, as we were going in and out, about, you were talking about the EU and the protections with wolves there in Poland, and I read that too, that they are fully protected. So I'm just putting a guess out here, because we've spoken with other people who've done studies about the myths and legends and the urban myths that have come from Europe, that made their way over to North America, and that those myths and legends still persist about the werewolf, about wolves in general, and how they'll come and eat the dead, and that is where those fears come from. Is that where, and I'm speaking Poland specifically because this is your area of expertise, is that where a lot of that fear comes from? And where did Poland decide, what was the decision to put them under protection? Because if there's so much fear, it's surprising to me that they would put wolves and protect them, and all predators for that matter, but wolves specifically in this conversation.
Yeah. So, we often joke in Poland that it all comes down to Red Hood, the tale of Red Hood, right? Yeah. So we have it too here. And in a way, it's true, because, when you were a kid, you didn't want to eat your dinner, and your parents would say, or your grandpa, or eat your soup, because if not, the bad wolves will come and eat you, and they were, yeah, those are real stories. Even my friend, she's a wolf researcher now, she would hear that stories when she was little. So obviously there is this, just the same stories being said over and over again. And I think they go back to not to any like real times and real experiences, because my mother told me that her father told her that they were living in this very like rural village forestry area. And it was before the Second World War, so like, or in the middle of the, well, maybe, okay, it was after the war. So after 1945. And
Okay.
she said that they would take those fires, like fire, how do you call it? No, there weren't lamps. They were like this fire, but they were taking the horses and this fire with them to, yeah, to scare.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, I don't know the word for it.
Like
Like
you're talking about
sticks. Yeah,
napalm.
yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Okay, got it.
and to
Okay.
scare away the wolves, because the wolves would come for the horses or for the cows that they would travel to, to some market, to some, but to some other village. And this is absolutely not true. I'm sure it was not true, but even my mom would say, okay, but this is what my dad said. But I'm absolutely sure that there were no wolves attacking the cows or the horses that were accompanied by people. It's just the stories. Maybe there were some wolves, like if a cow was walking like two or far away after those people, then maybe the wolves would attack this cow, because after the war there was, let's say, not a lot of natural prey in the forest, because during the war people would hunt a lot of those deers and other animals. So wolves obviously had less to hunt in the forest. So maybe, yeah, they would go for the stock a bit more. Also, maybe there were some dogs left in the forest after the war, even by German army or Russian army. There were legends, I would say, that they would train those dogs and then they were left in the forest. I think some of those stories were true. So people would take those dogs, like they would think those were the wolves, not actually dogs. So it's very complex, but I would say it's not based on anything true, anything that really happened. It's just this fear of a shadow. I think a wolf represents a shadow in a way, a shadow in ourselves, shadow in the forest, which is dark, which is, if you see a wolf and it's not Yellowstone from some high hill, you probably see it in a forest. You see it just for like, I don't know, few seconds. If you see it for a minute or two, you're lucky, right? It's a shadow. It just shows her or himself for you just for a few seconds. And we fear this. It's so like hard to catch, hard to imagine how those wolves, even how they manage to survive so many years of trying to exterminate them. And this is the real fear, and the fear of the wilderness, the being like this how do you say that, the first people, very primary, as the opposite of civilization, right? So all of those things make us fear. Okay, this is what wolves represents.
Yeah, it's the primal aspect
Yeah,
of it. I
primal.
think that
Yeah,
that
exactly.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, primal, yeah, and it's. I'm sure I'm sure in the research that you were doing for your book, you saw this, and it's wolves in particular. It seems, and this is just not my opinion. I think it's from doing the amount of episodes that we've done and the amount of people we've spoken to, is that really you see that wolves are these animals that is a mirror into the human
Yeah.
self, and they're the one animal, it seems, overarching, that people really see themselves in. And I think that's the scary
Mm-hmm.
part, is they see either the good, or they see the bad, or sometimes the in between, and they find that balance. It's very rare to find that balance, and there's where they see both, that there's good and bad, but it's usually the pendulum swings one way or the other. Did you find that too in the people that you spoke with who felt that way, that wolves were sort of this mirror into humans, and that's what either frightened them or got them excited one way or the other?
Yeah, yeah, even because they are so similar to us in so many different ways. The way they live, I mean, in families, in packs, but they're actually families. They are nothing, like a mom, a dad, and a pair of different babies from different years, basically. Sometimes some aunt or a grandpa. So yeah, this is the first similarity. Then the way they hunt, I think it's very it reminds us of the way we hunt, and they are so intelligent and so smart about it, and so smart about so many different things. And yeah, this even for the hunters that we spoke about a bit, they say to kill a wolf and to hunt a wolf before, when it was still allowed, it was a huge honor. It was like, okay, a wolf is a great trophy, because it's very hard to track and to hunt a wolf, to kill a wolf in a forest like here. Because it's important for the listeners to know that Poland, when you have forest, it's very hard, even from some planes or helicopters, it's hard to see what's down there, because the forests are so dense, and so it's really not an easy task to kill such an animal as wolf, right? So yeah, it was a task, something huge for them to kill that animal. And yes, different aspects, but I think this as you say, in a way, a mirror. Yeah, wolf has it also. Even the eyes that look through you. I don't know if you've noticed it, but wolves look not only at you, because sometimes they avoid humans looking just directly into your eyes, but they look, if you encounter them, they look throughout you. And I think that may be scary for people too. Like, what does this mean? I cannot read it. They don't have those, dogs developed those muscles, to mimic humans over the eyes, and wolves don't have it.
The eyebrows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So it's so hard for us to read. What do they think? Well, what is it all about? Yeah. And we can't read the body language that well. So if we look at the tail, then you work with those wolves in the shelter, and wolf dogs, from what I understood, and you probably understand the wolf dog language very well. But yeah, for regular people, it's like, oh, what's happening? Ear a little bit like to the right, ear a little bit to the left, right? And the wolves are, they know what's happening, but yeah, people are lost. So yeah, I guess it's also a mystery of the wolves. Yeah.
Yeah, we get that a lot, and you're right. Working with them, it brings a totally different perspective, because you can understand, and it takes a long time to understand the language. You really have to be with them for a while to truly get, okay, there's going to be a reason. Like if this goes, and they, well, like you say, wolves are extremely intelligent. So there's always little clues here and there. Okay, we need to make sure that we do things a certain way, so that we have this bond on an even playing field. And that's really what it used to be back, tens of thousands of years ago, is that we were bonded with these animals in a different way than we are today. And it's to see that evolution of domestication and then dominance, and then trying to get back to this balanced perspective of, these were animals that taught us, like you say, how to develop the family structure, how to hunt in a way that we were able to survive. Because I think that's something that, as humans evolved, or as Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, whatever it was, you get to a point where, if you have a family structure, how are you going to feed this family or your group or your pack dynamic? And learning those tools, it just, like you say, it's complicated, but it's simple. And I think there are just so many similarities there in that way that people have lost. And that's the beauty of our sanctuary, is to see when people come here and maybe they realize something that they didn't realize before. And I'm sure you've had these encounters too, with other biologists, individuals that you speak to, that the overarching theme, and it seems what's interesting in what you've said, and there are a couple other people that say this, that even those that hunt the wolf respect the wolf, and they see that the wolf is this, I don't know what the word, I can't, it's not coming to my brain right now, but they are almost they're like the ultimate steward of the environment. And I think it's understood in a way. And unfortunately, I feel like the human brain gets in the way with myths, legends, stories, politics, social tolerance. And it's like you say, that primal level is a very scary thing for people to get down and drop into, and where they would probably find they have more in common with the wolf than they want to believe.
Yeah, it's it's very interesting to me also that, for example, we hate and fear wolves so much. And for example, with bears, I don't know how it's in United States, but in Poland, people don't fear bears that. I mean, okay, if they encounter them like from 5 meters maybe, okay, that's scary. But otherwise, they have this idea of a teddy bear. Okay, I'm gonna feed this bear. It's so cute, blah blah blah. And then we have huge problems. But in general, bears are like viewed in much better, I would say. I don't know, like there are not so many people against bears as against wolves, as yeah, you know what I mean. So it's very like, where does it come from? And with bears, we also have a lot of similarities. Like, they would stand on two legs and those hind legs, or they would eat honey. Yeah, they eat the larvae in honey, but yeah, mostly, right? But there are similarities too. They grab things with their hands, and still bears are not okay in those legends and those myths. Yeah, obviously, for indigenous people, bears were important too. But with wolves, somehow this idea of a scary spirit, I guess, survived. And with other animals, it's not the same. It's just not the same. It's very interesting, and I didn't find just one answer. There were many answers to that. Why? But I guess in a way it started with us, or with we were all nomadic people at some point. Most of us were nomads, right? We were traveling, and with the point, maybe 12,000 years ago, I think 12,000 or more. Yeah, we stopped being nomads, and we started to grow lands, to have those stock animals. And then we start the fight with the wolves. Not only, before we would learn, as you said, from them how to hunt, how to do this, that, and then something changed in that dynamics, and it happens still today. And before you ask about how we did it in Poland, that we have the full protection of wolves, it was a long, long road, actually. It was, well, if you want, I can tell you like shortly the story
Yeah,
of
please.
protection. So after the war, basically, the situation of wolves was quite good till 19th century, because they were not hunted, like more or less, like nothing huge. For example, in England, they were exterminated already in the 15th century. So, like 4 centuries before. So in Poland, it was quite late that they even started to hunt wolves. And it was basically those kings or, important people. But they were quite okay in the forest till the Second World War. So 39, 40, 45, 1945 was the end of the war. And the hunters estimated we have around 700 wolves at the time after the war. And they said, okay, it's too many. It's too many. They are eating all the cows and everything. Obviously, it wasn't too many for a country with a lot of forests. But okay, it was true that they were cutting those forests after the war, to rebuild everything, because there was not enough, not a lot of money. So they would cut a lot of those forests, and that's true. But so, okay, at that point from 1956, they would start this wolf action. That was the name of it, and they would try to almost exterminate all the wolf population. So you were allowed to take pups from the den, you were allowed to poison them, you would be paid for that, you would be paid very well. It was like one salary in the industry. So it was the communist times, so it was a lot of money. Like for one wolf you would get an equivalent of one salary in industry at this time, so it was really a lot of money. So yeah, basically till the 70s there were only, like, from those 700, only like maybe around 60 something wolves. So yeah, almost none. Only in the south, and as I said, in the east north of Poland. So then in the 75 they changed the law, and okay, they said only the hunters, because before it was you, me, whoever wanted can go and take a pup from there. So
right, the layperson.
yeah, terrible. So 75 they changed the law. Okay, only hunters, and they made some protection periods, like, okay, you can hunt only from this to this time, like those seasons. But still, it was huge. First of all, it was huge business for the communists. Because most of the important people in the government would hunt. Also, not only in Poland, but in different communist countries, like we would have guests from Spain, like Fidel Castro. We would have the King Pahlavi, coming to Poland to hunt. And who else? There was, Tito would so a lot of those dictators from different countries would come, pay a lot of money to hunt a wolf or a bear in Poland. Mostly wolves. With bears it was more difficult. So it was a huge business. So okay, there were hunting less, but still they would, they would do it for money, and like sell it for they would, yeah, basically that's it. Anyway, then, so again, the situation of the population wasn't much better. So around like late 80s, those organizations like nature protection organizations started those campaigns in Poland to protect wolves, to show the public that wolves are needed, that they're, regular, normal animals. And those campaigns took like more or less 10 years. And in 1995, we had like first parts of Poland to get the protection. And 1998, it was the full protection. So it was a battle of more or less 10 years to get the public on the right side. So to tell them, okay, wolves are fine, we would have those and those posters saying, I'm wild, I'm not bad, or something. Different things were happening. A lot of talks in different parts of Poland, and a lot of exhibitions, things like that. They were doing a lot of things just to talk to the public. And because Poland is, as I said, we have a lot of forests, and people are very connected to those forests, nature, in a different ways. It's not only a good way, but they are, kind of proud of it. So the nature protection organizations just help people to feel proud of that we have those wolves. Yeah, and in a way we are an example in Europe. Poland is an example, and also a migration point for the west of Poland, the western part of Poland. There, the rest of the Europe there. The wolves from Poland migrate there. So I don't know. Germany has wolves because of Poland. Okay, they're not all that happy about it. I mean, there are people that are, but there are the others that are. Yeah. So in a way, in Poland, we are actually quite lucky, because a huge group of the society is for wolves, is actually for the protection. And I don't know. it's a huge success of both those organizations. And I think just I had constant work of reminding people why it's important we have full ecosystem, I would say, because if we have predators, we have the full ecosystem working.
Yeah, absolutely. Just tell everybody too, Anna, about your work, what you're doing now, because we've talked about all of your history, your background, and you've given everybody who's listening a really in-depth look at what it's like to be in Poland with wolves. But for you, as you go forward here, what's a lot of the work that you're doing now? Because I imagine you're still writing. I'm sure there's other things, but just give everybody, because you're in the national park. So tell everybody what are your day-to-days right now? What's your outlook as the future comes upon us? Like, what are you up to at this moment?
So I'm actually working on a second book that I cannot talk about, the specifics of the book, but it's again connected to the nature and nature protection, I would say, and predators. So
That's great.
I'm in the right spot, and this is actually why I moved to the south, because I wanted to be close to this part where my subjects live, I would say. And to understand them, to better understand the whole process, to see how it is to live here nearby them. And this is the first thing I do. So I write, but I also go to the forest, and with wolves, the book is done, but my work with wolves is never done. I would say I can't imagine that at some point I would just stop doing things for wolves, because there are a lot of pressures, as I said, from the hunters and some farmers. We didn't talk about farmers yet, but to reverse the law, to get wolves hunted again, to allow the hunters to hunt them. And there is a lot of poaching. So the biologists in Poland estimated it for around I'm going to tell you how big is the whole population in a second, but they estimated that 150 wolves are being shot each year illegally. So if you have full protection, and the whole population is around 2,000, more or less, because it may be a bit bigger now, because this number comes from 2019, and it was a genetic counting too, so it's quite it's you can trust this number, but it can be a bit bigger, because there was still, after 98, it was wolves were only in some parts of Poland, and then after 10 years they were in bigger parts, and then right from 2015, I think, more or less, we have them in most parts of most forests of Poland, but there are still small migrations going on too, happening, obviously. So what I do is I try to educate. I do those meetings with people. It's sometimes about book, and I just explain how it all works, and people come and ask questions, and it's beautiful. I'm really happy that they're so interested. I'm even happy when hunters come, and if we argue, it's good, because people listen to that and you hear all the arguments from both sides. And I write articles, or I write some responses to this quite nasty comments on the internet. After those under those articles, we have thousands, like tons of fake news right now, because in the whole Europe there is this trend to reverse this protection. Not all the European countries have full protection, but a lot of them. And so hunters are trying in the whole Europe to reverse that situation. So they put a lot of fake news in the internet, in the this internet media. not on the internet actually. And there are really nasty things, like we had this man who died in the forest, and there was a body found after like few months, and this body was basically eaten by animals, different animals. Still the bureau of, how do you call it, the investigation, bureau of such cases didn't estimated the real cause, which animals were actually eating, preying on that body of this man. But never mind, when media saw the pictures, because somebody illegally sent those pictures to the media, then the hunters would like send those pictures to them, like one to another, and then next. And so these pictures for of this Polish poor man who was, well, who just died there of cold. He went out, he was probably not fully like mentally well, and he went out, it was very cold, it was during the winter, and he got lost, and yeah, unfortunately died. So that was the cause of death, just natural. And then it was used, those same pictures were used in Bosnia. So, and they were saying, those Bosniak, so Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Baltic countries, they were saying, the hunters there were saying that wolves killed a person and ate a person in Bosnia. And you had the same pictures of this Polish man eaten. Well, okay, his body was eaten by some probably small scavengers, not even wolves, because there weren't like, when you've seen a wolf prey, when it's a wolf prey. I mean, even it wouldn't be much left. And with those were different pictures, different case. But yeah, media really in Poland and in different countries use this tragedy of some family, of some men, to make this attempt to kill wolves again. And this is what I'm trying to stop. Like, it's a constant work, you have to respond to this in media or in this social Facebook or whatever. And yeah, this is what I do too. And it's not a fun job, but it's something, I guess, important to try to educate people. And the last thing, I do workshops with kids, not only with kids, but I take people to the nature and just show them some praise. Kids are, yeah, they are not scared of killed deer. They're excited. Or if they find a dog shit, basically a wolf, sorry, a scat of a wolf, then they're excited. Oh yeah, we see what's inside. Okay, there are so bones. And this is what I do. I do this kind of education so people understand. And yeah, I say you have to love something, or at least like something, to protect it. So I try to
Yeah,
do that.
you clearly do. You love it. I mean, you're in it completely, literally, because you're in the forest and you're there so that you can be enveloped in all of this. The future for wolves in Poland, do you believe it's still going to be this back and forth of love, hate, acceptance, non-acceptance, or is there a way that you see that coexistence could prevail in the end, and that we'll have more of a middle ground as opposed to two polarizing sides?
Unfortunately, I'm less optimistic that I was, let's say, how many years? 2021, so 2 years ago, my book went out. And when I was finishing it, I started writing it because I was afraid that the law would get reversed and the wolves are going to be hunted again. Then during the writing process, I thought, okay, no, they are safe. Public is for the wolves, like, mostly, and yeah, the public will not allow it. And now, unfortunately, for like a few months, this campaign of the hunters, maybe some of the farmers, but I say hunters because even when I think about the farmers being against wolves, I think it's not the farmers themselves, because it's a different situation in Poland with the farmers than in the United States. You have rich farmers in US. In Poland, I think, at least in Poland, most farmers are not very, very rich anymore. At least those rich ones, they don't care. But the poor ones, they care if they lose, one cow or whatever, some sheep. So this is a real problem for them. But we have a really good compensation programs for the farmers. So I think it wouldn't be a problem for the farmers, but the hunters do the work, because a lot of hunters work in the forestry, and in the foresters are like gods, like priests. We have priests in in small villages. You have priests and hunters. There are two. It's not the police. Police is not the people you go to. It's the foresters and the priests. I mean, regular village people from those little small villages, in the middle of nowhere. This is still the kind of like the I don't know, the ladder of power again. So it's interesting, and sadly, the foresters and the hunters, let's say, set the tone and set the mindset of those other people, so also the farmers. So coming back to my point is, I fear more and more that it's not going to be that great, because it's a huge campaign, really. If you turn on the internet, each day you're gonna see some article about, like, okay, wolves killed deer just by entrance to the school or whatever, which is, if you read exactly into that article, okay, you're gonna know this was in the middle of nowhere, like in the forest, and this, it was not exactly the door of school, but just the fence. And yeah, wolves use fences to hunt, obviously, yeah, because it's, a good barrier. It's like a stop point to hunt a deer, let's say, through something like that. So I'm not that optimistic, but I still hope that education, and those people we have a lot of people who are for nature protection, who know that the climate changes are so huge, and we cannot stop them, basically. But if we want to help the situation, we cannot kill all the animals that are left. There are not that many, 2,000 wolves in Poland. Come on, it's not a lot. I mean, we have, like, how many people in the world right now, and we and wolves were the species that would be the most, like, we would go, sorry. I so
It's okay.
Okay, you can cut it off.
No, you're good. No, I hear you.
But we and wolves, humans and wolves were the how do you say it? I'm always mixing these words. Not species.
Yeah, well, they were like you mean they were the top species that we're talking about, like
I'm
the
saying
two.
that they were in all of the continents almost, and only us. And
Oh,
yes,
yes.
And this, we were.
Yeah, they were all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, never mind. I think you can cut it somewhere there.
No, that's fine. Good. No, I know. I get the point you're making, and I hear you, and it's the one thing I'll say is that I've noticed with some of the individuals that we speak with, and you're one of them, that this attitude seems to be trending more in the pessimistic or negative direction, and it's not due to the hard work, and it's what we've found out, or what we realize is really just the social tolerance angle of wolves, and that it's not about anything environmental. It's not about balance. It's not about ecosystems. It really is about tolerance and the social aspect of where humans are at this moment and the power that they can wield over any sort of species, because we're in a place that we're able to do that. We have all these things at our disposal and as you said, we're in, I think, the sixth grade extinction or the sixth mass extinction right now. And as you say, I mean, wolves are just one part of all of these animals, plants, all this life that is being wiped away from the planet as we speak. So it's a battle that we take seriously. That Stephen and I are, we're just trying to get the information out there, and it's people like you that are literally in the forest, that are writing these articles, that are writing these books, that are doing these workshops to engage the public and to make sure that they have an appreciation for the world that's around them, that they can be immersed in something that's not, that's more natural as opposed to around the cities and things like that. My last question for you, Anna, is when you hear the word wolf, what is the thing that comes to your mind?
Wild, yeah. Wild in the best possible sense. Wild as adventurous, honest, impressive, open-hearted, like invincible, which is not true. I mean, as we spoke before, as you said before, they are not. They are actually quite easily killed, and it's not that easy, not that hard to exterminate them totally. So they actually need our protection. As you said, this is something that's very sad for me. That it's the social acceptance is actually the thing that determines their being, the being of the rest of the world, I would say, anything that is not human. But I guess the hope is that we will find this wilderness of wolves in our hearts, and try that this wilderness will wake us up to the real life and to the real world, right? That's still there, fortunately.
Yeah, it's there for everybody to engage with and to be immersed in. Absolutely. Anna Maziuk, thank you so much for your knowledge, your influence, your time, and it was just wonderful meeting you. Just hang on for a second when we sign off because I want to go over some things, but thank you for everything that you're doing, and best of luck to you in all of the future endeavors and that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. All the best to you.
Yes, all the best to you too. Howls to you all out there, and we'll be with you next time. Bye, everybody. Looking for more information about Wolf Connection or the podcast? Please visit our website at wolfconnection.org, where you can donate, sponsor a wolf, or become a volunteer.